Appreciate you.
What can I tell you about things? I believe for sure. Do you believe in church?
Yeah, I don't actually live in Iowa.
Certainly.
Because I moved to Iowa State, and so
Right now, I do. Yeah.
and so it was like literally on my way. Oh yeah, so you're just on the other side. Where I'm in Indianapolis. But yeah, I was like drove in, and this was like the perfect time to stop, and then it didn't. I had no idea what to expect, but I was like, it's an adventure.
Yeah, it's amazing how many people like heard the call and
We were kind of a little bit, it seemed like we can.
Of all the things I've survived to this point. Come on.
And this is my first stop, and then I'll see you.
Where are you moving from?
Indianapolis.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, luckily, my cousin is a senior at Iowa State,
Okay.
so I'm gonna stay with her this weekend and just have fun and stuff, but like, it's a good time to go, and I get to see family and kids.
It is the word to have fun in Iowa State. The whole state, right? You miss the fair here, and you also miss the Iowa State fair. That's the only two things.
The only two, that's in Des Moines.
Yeah,
The Great Jones County Fair is just
what
good.
should you look at?
well, I mean, I've been to Iowa at least
It really is.
Right.
my whole dad's side of the family lives out here.
Yeah, we have
So,
there's a.
I went to the University of Iowa.
Yeah.
And, it's not that Nebraska, but.
yeah, no, I'm not familiar with the state. I like grew up coming here to visit, like all of my dad's cousins and everything, like they all are from out here. So
Yeah, we're about as far as.
I'm used to the drive now, just like,
Yeah.
From any of them.
What kind of
Or
drive is
middle,
that?
I don't know. which
you
way.
literally get on 74 West and stay there for 7 hours, and that's it. It's about 7, well, to where my family is, they're in
Oh,
Boone,
so.
Iowa,
Right, yeah.
so
That's
it's
like
like,
Once you get to the
yeah,
surface area up in West
like 20 minutes from me.
Oh my God, have you guys-
So it's like 7.5 from Indianapolis to
At least they're in Minnesota, is much better.
They're all pretty close, it's not.
If you're driving in the Twin Cities,
But yeah.
look at jumping across and driving
That's
Iowa Road.
Yeah,
on the
it's a long
Wisconsin-
ride.
on the Wisconsin side, and then when you get up to the crossroads, back over.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's a very nice drive.
Get some cheese curd and beer and have fun.
Yeah, they're kind of all about that. Don't let them hurt you backwards.
No, I'll leave it.
I drive semi, I have to drive up to Marquette, Michigan, and Lake Superior every week, twice, and it's like,
Oh, Lake Superior.
it's, I love it up there, right? Like, you gotta drive through all this. That's country. It's the wrong thing, you know, it's like,
Oh.
thank you, as you say, right, you can go there.
Yeah.
But then,
I don't care about football. I'll watch that Super Bowl.
I do.
You watch it for the commercials, not the game.
I know.
I actually been going down to
Nice.
way back to when Joe Montana and Jerry Rice played.
Probably before my time.
Yeah.
The guy in front of you may ask you to marry him before this is saying.
And then I got Perky up the other side. Yep. So Pete, you writing a story for the paper?
Yeah, well, I'll take his pictures.
Thank you, Gary, for the $25 donation. To Andrew Yang, thank you, Andy, for the $10 donation. Tyson for the $35 donation. Moss with the $1.25 donation. Leonid with the $10 donation. Shaw with the $5 donation. Jennifer with the $100 donation. Benjamin with the $5 donation. TXUJCI, I do not know how to pronounce that name, so I spelled it out. $16 donation. Andrew Yang. Pearl with the 25. Meng Meng with the 10. Andre with the $20.20 donation, Owen with the $10 donation, Austin with the $5 donation, David with the $100 donation, King with the $20 donation, Tyler with the 5, Lori with the 50, Brandon with the 50, James with the 25, Carlos with the 1, Shuhong with the $1 donation, Eddie with the $10 donation, Thomas with the $1 donation, William with the $5 donation, Alejandro with the $1 donation, Ronnie with the $5 donation, Ryan with the $12 donation, Christine with the $5 donation, Shran with the $5 donation, Sean with the $1 donation, Rudy with the $25 donation, Adrian with the $1 donation, Nelson with the $5 donation, Zach with the $1 donation, Sergio with the $1 donation, Anna with the $1 donation, Larry with the $5 donation, and I think that cashes us up. Did I say Quark with the $100 donation, Penny with the $1 donation, Andy with the 5, Alexander with the 30? Yeah, that definitely catches us up. And then another one just came in, Shai Shang with the $5 donation. And did I say Gary with the 25 and Andy with the 10? I'm not sure. I think that catches us up though, guys. We have a $3 million FBC goal due by midnight. In fact, we're actually trending hashtag. Ooh, thank you, Cameron, for the $5 donation. We're trending Yang Moneyball on Twitter because this is a deadline that can't be extended, and we need to be able to go to the media tomorrow. Oh my gosh, Adam with the $100 donation to Andrew Yang. Let's go to Yang's website and see where we're at with the goal.
Oh, freaking amazing. Absolutely.
You're up there for like
I did 5 days there, and I'm probably gonna go back during the summer when I can. Just to next time. Yeah, and I'd like to, actually, it's probably gonna be 3. I got somewhere to see the northern lights. It was probably gonna be it's amazing. The waterfall, it's super amazing.
lights are so expensive.
It's really, I didn't.
We are at 1.49 million. We're halfway there with 11 hours to go. Halfway there. What the? How's my charger not working?
Sorry, I've been doing this.
Oh, I'm never gonna do like an all-inclusive or a hotel stay.
Oh, heck yeah.
It's too freaking expensive.
That's all, I've been doing the van life for
So you
a
said
couple
you did a
years now.
5-day trip to Iceland for about $1,200?
It was probably less than 12 minutes. I'm not gonna do it in there.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, it's probably less than 12 minutes. Everybody got quiet. Sorry, I know, right?
Keep donating. Thank you, George, for the $5 donation. Andrew Yang through theyanggame.com. All donations through theyanggame.com count towards the $3 million goal.
So Andrew will be here real soon.
He's grabbing a burger somewhere real quick? He doesn't run out of energy?
I'm not sure, well, I will tell you this, I have been on Andrew's bus that he has right now. And that thing is like so much nicer than my first apartment. When I first walked in there, I was like, you are kidding me. So you walk in,
There's probably a kitchenette in there.
oh yeah, they've got like, you know, a microwave, a bathroom, they've got 2 refrigerators, a little sink, they've got like snacks everywhere. Then you go towards the back, and there's like 2 big flat screen TVs. There's one big flat screen TV set up in the back, and there's like, you know, a little meeting table right here with couches all over. Then there's another great big flat screen TV set up there, and that one's got an Xbox 360 on it. And I'm like, come on, man, it's just, I mean, yes.
Obviously an total man, he's intelligent.
Yes.
Although the detail, there's a kid sitting.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that Xbox does.
thank you, Jen, for the
Oh, yeah,
$25
I mean,
donation.
a couple
Andrew.
things, just to tell you guys a couple stories about Andrew that are some of my favorites. There's like, when he went and played basketball with J.D. Schulten over at Iowa State, that was so much fun. I mean, he and J.D. They were playing together with each other on a team of three, and they were playing against another team of three. And it was just fun watching them out there just shooting around. I mean, there was really no speeches, no nothing. They just, came, and there was a crowd of about maybe 150 people there and watched them play basketball. We've had three different, what's that?
Who won?
Oh, JD and Andrew. I mean, let's also face it, JD is 6'6" and got, hands the size of a freaking steel grate. I mean, try to, you watch some.
Shaquille O'Neal hands.
Yeah, I mean, he's just got huge hands. So you'd see somebody go up and try to make a basket on JD and just, boom! I was like, yeah, that's why I'm not doing that, because I'm not out to get myself embarrassed. But then there was a time when we went to Drake, and I went to Drake University, that's my alma mater. And they had Griff there, the Drake University mascot, the little bulldog. And instead of just saying, oh, what a nice dog, Andrew actually got down on the floor and was like hugging and giving the dog a kiss. I'm like, all right, considering you're a dog lover, now I definitely like you. I mean, that was a lot of fun. And then just recently, one of the things that Andrew did is we went and visited a church up in Waterloo, Iowa. It was a Union Missionary Baptist church. And so at first Andrew got up there and they let him speak, and then the choir, invited Andrew to come up and sing with him. So Andrew got on the robes and he's up there singing with them and he's dancing with them and everything. And I thought, oh my gosh, this was really so cool. I mean, he just got up there and had fun with it. He didn't decide, oh, I'm a politician, so I have to be really serious.
So he's willing to do a solo today. That's what I want to know. I want to hear some
Probably
Whitney.
not.
I want to hear some Adele.
Oh man, no.
You say probably like there's a gray area there?
Right. That I heard that too.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna promise anything with the candidate because I know he's gotta go quick in and out, but who knows? But it's stuff like that that makes you realize this is still a guy who really, has fun and really enjoys life. We've had 3 different occasions on this trip where we've stopped and done bowling with Andrew. So that was a lot of fun too. We just had a bunch of people show up and all of a sudden, all right, it's bowling with Andrew Yang. I just can't imagine many other people doing that. So stuff like that.
I forgot where I left off.
I always think it's awesome. And one of the best things I had with Andrew was when I first started working with the campaign. There was another event we had with J.D. Schulten in Des Moines at it was Jefferson Junior High. We had something called the Working Heroes Forum. Just talking about guys who work in the trades, laborers, unions, stuff like that. And after the event is over with, we had about 400 people there. All these people lining up to take pictures with Andrew. So we were there for like ever, way past the time we thought that we were going to be there. And at the end of the event, there's this one kid who's like, hey, I lost my cell phone. I gotta find my cell phone. And Andrew was like, guys, we gotta stop and find this kid's cell phone. So not only did he have us as staffers walking up and down aisles looking for this kid's cell phone, Andrew was too. So it just showed me that he's the type of guy who's like, hey, I'm running for the President of the United States, but this matters to this kid. Somebody came out here and volunteered for us. I'm gonna stop and try and help and find his cell phone as well. And that to me said a lot about the guy and why I like working for him, because he is just he's a real human being. He enjoys spending time with people. He enjoys doing stuff with people, having conversations. There was a guy I just recently met in Davenport, Iowa at our thing we had at LULAC. This guy Andrew was talking to was a former Army veteran, carpenter, and he went to the bowling event, and at one point in time got a chance to stop and kind of ask Andrew some questions. He was like, Andrew actually sat and answered all my questions, give me politispeak, and he's like, I was kind of surprised that he did that. I'm like, well, yeah, that's kind of what he does. So for me, that was, really just exciting. One of the things that I kind of like about working with this campaign. In fact, I still remember the first time I ever met Andrew Yang was at the Iowa State Fair. And there were a bunch of other candidates there at that time. They're walking around like, hi, I'm John, I'm very serious, I'm running for president. Yes, I'm a serious man and I'm running for president. And then there's Andrew Yang just kind of hanging out, you know, by the Democratic booth, and he's got a turkey leg that is literally like the size of like, you know, my forearm. And he's just sitting there, you know, eating it. He's like, hi, I'm Andrew Yang, you're the president. How you doing? And I thought, you know, how cool is this guy? Everybody else is trying to be very serious. And then he's just sitting there eating a turkey leg, enjoying the state fair, and talking to people. And so for me, that was just, you know, another Andrew moment that I really enjoyed. But yeah, just to let you guys know, my name is Al. I'm actually from the state of Iowa. I grew up in Davenport, Iowa, right along the Mississippi River. So I'm one of those people who got to watch my neighbors get flooded out every couple of months. So that's fun and exciting. I don't know, is anybody else here from a river town originally? Okay, so you know what it's like. Every spring it's like, oh, there goes half the town. And
Where does he live?
Andrew?
Yeah.
I always love answering that because he lives in Schenectady, New York. And to me, Schenectady is just a fun word to say, so I always like mentioning it.
Can you spell it?
Oh, no. It's not even close.
I can come.
Yeah.
SCHENECHY, something like that.
You're probably a lot closer than I would get.
That's how I
So.
would.
I feel like we should have.
Is that on the island or is that upstate?
That's upstate, yeah. So, and that's one of the things, you know, that, you know, some of that to me was also one of the things that's funny. A lot of our volunteers, people who are working on the campaign, are from places like, you know, Texas, Florida, California. So when we got our first real big snow here, a lot of them started freaking out, you know, because they'd never seen snow like this before. And Andrew's like, man, I'm from upstate New York. We see this all the time. This is, you know, no big deal for him. So I just thought that was kind of cool. That and the other really cool moment I had on the campaign was, you guys familiar with Maquoketa Caves? Okay, so we were traveling from Dubuque to Davenport, Iowa. And I was traveling with a guy who's like our state director. His name is Liam. And at that time, my assistant, Stacy. And I was like, hey, there's Maquoketa Caves. I used to love that as a kid. You know, why don't we go see it? And you know, so we drive up there to Maquoketa. And you know, I hand him both flashlights, and he's like, "Are we really going to need these flashlights to go to that cave?" And I'm like, yeah, exactly. Yeah, you are. So we're walking through, and sometimes you just have to crouch. Well, especially, you know, I'm not a small person myself, and you got to crouch down and walk to the cave. And at one point in time, Liam's kind of looking around the cave, and all of a sudden he sees a bat on the cave wall, and he shines the flashlight on the bat. He's like, "Hey, look at the bat! There's a bat!" I'm like, "Liam, don't do that." But anyway. Everyone, I'd like to introduce to you my friend and the next president of the United States, Mr. Andrew Yang.
Keep applauding. Hello, everyone. Hey, I'm so glad we have a small group so we can do something a little different. I've been giving a variation of the same stump speech an awful lot of times. But this time we're going to do something a little different. It's really just to have a conversation, take questions, see if I can both provide any answers to anything you might have and also hopefully learn a thing or two. So really thank you all for being here. How many of you have seen me speak before in some context? All the better that I'm not just going to do Oh, so just debates. I have to say, I don't think the debates really got out a whole lot of substance. No, so I'm glad to be
I
back
was
on
kind
the
of
debate stage.
disappointed in it.
I'm sorry?
I was kind of disappointed in the debates. I didn't think they wrote, like you said, about a lot of substance. Not
Well,
really.
you were not the only one. But I know this because the ratings for the debate steadily declined. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah, I believe that.
I think if the numbers I remember are correct, the viewership started at 17 million and then declined to 6 million. So something like 2/3 of people said, and then
I've had enough.
yeah, so that's not great. It's not a really good way. If you want to see the substance of my campaign, I think maybe the most efficient thing would be to pull up like my speech at the Liberty and Justice dinner or something like that. It's like, 11 minutes. Give you a sense of my platform. The crux of my platform is that our economy is changing in fundamental ways, and it's leaving us, our families, and many of our towns behind. And that we have to change that. We
we have to rewrite the rules of the 21st century economy so that they actually work for us and our families, and not the big companies that are making out like bandits and running circles around our government, or are working hand in hand with our government, because our government at this point just works for them. So that's the center of my campaign, and I have a pretty dramatic proposal that everyone I think knows about, which is I think every American should. Okay.
I don't know about it.
Well, I'll let you know. No problem. Thank you for being here. I regularly say that every Iowan is worth 1,000 Californians.
Yeah, I know.
So you look around this modest group, and this is like a football stadium full of Californians worth of power. And then I say, like, I give a Trumpian estimate of how many people are here, and look around and say, thousands. There are thousands.
Biggest crowd ever.
Yes. But my biggest proposal is that every American gets $1,000 a month, free and clear, do whatever you want with during aging teen until you expire. And that seems very big and dramatic, but it's actually overdue and common sense. It was proposed in the 60s and 70s, endorsed by 1,000 economists, passed the US House twice and came this close to being law in 71, but then we missed our opportunity. And what happened between 71 and now? The economy became the most extreme winner-take-all economy in the history of the world. It got worse and worse for most working Americans and families whose wages stayed like this, even as your healthcare costs and education costs and daycare costs and other costs just kept on going up. So what seems very dramatic of this $1,000 a month actually is in many ways a rebalancing of an economy so that it works for families as much as big businesses and rural communities as much as big cities. Because right now, too many rural communities are getting sucked dry. And the most pressing example is Amazon, which is soaking up $20 billion in business a year, closing 30% of your stores and malls, and paying zero in taxes. You know, that's all just value leaving. And when the store closes, you know, people lose their jobs and not much is going to replace it. So this election on Monday is about trying to change the winner-take-all economy and make it revolve around our family's bottom line instead of the company's bottom line. And when I say our family's bottom line, we have record high corporate profits right now in the United States of America. What else are at record highs in the United States of America right now? Debt. Suicide. Healthcare is expensive. Healthcare costs.
Anxiety,
Opioid
depression
use.
among
Once you
kids.
turn 50, it's hard to keep a job.
Yes.
They want you to wait till 71 to get your social security.
Yeah.
It's been cut back. I'm fortunate.
Like affordability, farm foreclosures. She said something really crucial, which is mental health and depression. And that's not just among young people, that's society-wide.
Right.
Student loan indebtedness, substance abuse. Record lows right now. The last time it happened was the Spanish flu of 1918. So all of our social indicators are falling off a cliff, and the companies are making more and more money. And all of our economic measurements are about whether or not the companies are making money. So we're being told things are great, and you're like, wait a minute, how can things be great if literally all of these terrible things are at record highs, and all of the good things are at record lows? I'm saying we should actually measure our country's progress by our health and life expectancy, our mental health and freedom from substance abuse, our kids' success rates, how many of us can retire in quality circumstances. I just saw a stat that said something like 80% of Americans are going to lose their jobs sometime in their 50s, and that when they lose their jobs, they're not going to be able to find another job that pays them the same amount, and that like all the jobs that remain are just going to be much, much worse. And we can change that. We really have no choice but to change it, in my view, because everything we're talking about is actually going to get worse when things like self-driving trucks hit the highways, and when artificial intelligence starts doing a lot of the office work Like a lot of the technology that's in the lab that's coming out right now is going to be transformative. And in an ideal world, we'd actually be happy about that. But it's hard to be happy about that when it's literally just like, you know, kicking you out of your job. So that is the challenge. And this is what you all have to help our country get through. In my mind, this is the overdue rebalancing of the $21 trillion a year we're producing, put it more into your hands, and then build a trickle-up economy from our people, our families, and our communities up. Is the only thing that will work. This should have happened years ago. So that's the centerpiece of my campaign. Money in your hands, measure our well-being directly, and get our government working for you again.
Can I ask you a question about it?
Of course.
Just before you ask the question, so I want everybody to know, we have coffee, scones, some food. I know we can run, but I wanted to keep it casual. He's got like, let's say 15 minutes to kind of answer some questions and you know. So don't, it's not rude to stand up and grab a scone and grab a cup of coffee. We'll keep it.
No, if any of you individually want to get up and get a coffee and scone, that
won't be mad
okay.
next time. But sorry, not to cut you off.
No. You probably answered this dozens of times, so I apologize to repeat. Does Jeff Bezos get $1,000 a month? Does Bill Gates get $1,000 a month? Everyone gets $1,000.
Well, here's the fun thing. So check it out. Jeff Bezos has this $1 trillion company, Amazon. He's now worth $115 billion post-divorce.
Facts are facts.
Yeah. So his $1 trillion tech company right now pays 0 in taxes, which we can all look up and say, well, that's wrong. Yeah. So my plan is to put a toll on his company and Bill Gates' company, all these different companies, so that we get billions of dollars in revenue from Amazon right off the bat. And then when Jeff takes $1 billion of his savings every year and buys rocket ships to Mars, which he does, by the way, you take a toll on that too. And so the toll we're going to get from Jeff through his businesses and his expenditures will be literally tens of billions of dollars a year. And so then if we say to Jeff, hey Jeff, do you want your $1,000 a month to, like, you know,
You can pay yourself.
to be an American? then it's like,
He gets his own money back.
yeah, he gets a smidgen of his own money back. I mean, the problem right now is like, right now, literally that $1,000 is more than his company paid in taxes last year.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's the laughable part. But so the way the system's designed is that the Jeffs of the world would start paying billions of dollars into the system, and then the $1,000 is essentially like, you know, taken out of that $1 billion, if you know what I mean.
I hear a lot about, like loopholes for big companies and
Oh yeah,
taxes
I'm kind of an
and
expert
stuff.
in them. I don't know if you knew that.
I did not, so I was gonna ask what your plan was to circumvent that or to deal with that.
Yes. So Amazon's not alone in paying 0 in taxes. Other big companies you've heard of that paid 0 last year, Starbucks, Netflix, it's like kind of normal. Because the loopholes aren't even like holes, they're more like giant cavernous like tunnels that they can just like drive trucks through, trucks of money. So the biggest loopholes are things around foreign earnings, where if you park your earnings, let's call them in Ireland, and I say Ireland specifically because Ireland is the most popular foreign tax haven. I don't know if you knew this. Ireland said like, hey, guess what? If you have corporate taxes here, you can pay like nothing on them. And then all of a sudden, every company was like, all of a sudden, Ireland's looking really good. Now, they don't even actually really do a whole heck of a lot in Ireland. They just sort of like park an office there for tax purposes and just send all their money through it. So right now, our companies have literally hundreds of billions of dollars in overseas tax earnings parked over there. And as long as they don't bring it back within our country, we don't see a dime. So that's like one of the biggest tax loopholes. Another tax loophole is that they pay themselves, the executives, in massive stock bonus pools. And then all of that compensation actually gets treated where it reduces their taxable profits as a company. And I'll tell you all, like, I was a small business owner, and we paid about 50% in taxes. I don't know if any of you are small business owners. Now, 50% is high. I was operating in New York City, which is a very high tax locality. So if you stack federal on top of local, on top of everything, like I was paying 50%. So looking at these giant companies paying 0, like I too share like what the heck, like how is it possible in our system? works so well for them, and then like all the burden falls on ordinary Americans. So here's how we close the loopholes, is that other countries have looked at the same set of problems and said, okay, how do you make it so that the Amazons of the world pay a lot in taxes, given that they're so good at like taking advantage of any holes in the system? And what other countries have done is said, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna have them pay at the point of sale. And then if they say they're based in Ireland or whatever, if they sell to you, they pay. And the United States of America is the #1 market in the world. Like, everyone has to come here. And so even if Jeff were to be a total jerk and say, I'm now located in Bermuda, like, we'd still get these billions of dollars in sales from Amazon. This is something that makes me angry. We should all be angry about this. Other countries have figured this out. Other countries look up and say, you know what the most efficient way to like force these companies to pay in is like force them to pay it when they sell to us, because you have a record of every transaction. You can't wriggle out of it. There's no game playing. And then it ends up generating a massive amount of tax revenue very quickly. And that tax revenue, I'm going to take and put it into your hands. That is my plan, because number one is getting money into the government. But then number two is, what the heck does the government do with the money? You know, if the government—
Infrastructure week.
I'm all for actual, like, not infrastructure week, I'm for like infrastructure every day, where we just gotta like actually rebuild this country of ours that's falling apart. Like we've been coasting on investments that were made decades ago. Like our schools are crumbling, our roads are crumbling, our bridges are crumbling. I thought Trump would at least get this right, just to put his name on stuff, you know what I mean? I thought he'd run around being like, Trump everything. And I'd be like, I'll take it just to rebuild the infrastructure. But he didn't do it. So there's a very long-winded way of saying that other countries have figured out that if you tax them at the point of sale, then they can't wriggle out of it, and we should do the same thing here.
Would it be above and beyond, like a state sales tax on Amazon purchases that you're talking about?
So in many cases, the company will eat it. In some cases, they might apply an aspect of it to the consumer. But the great thing about the value-added tax, though, is you can actually ramp it up on things that, frankly, we don't care, like we don't care if you pay more taxes on. So let's call it robots, yachts, and luxury watches. And then things that we consume a lot of, you'd be like, maybe you exempt things like toilet paper, diapers, and eggs.
Consumables, food.
Yeah, exactly. Because the goal here is to put more buying power in the hands of the average American consumer, middle class, and to get the winnings from the biggest winners. Yeah.
So how do you get it through? Mitch McConnell?
And the gang.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the fun part. You all know I'm not a professional politician, and yet somehow I've outcompeted in half a dozen sitting senators, governors, and raised $16.5 million last quarter in increments of only $35 each, so my fans are almost as cheap as brains. So I'm running for office on a very, very clear message, which is we need to get these gains that are leaving our communities and put them back in our hands. I'm the heaviest favorite to beat Donald Trump head to head, according to people who are betting money on these things. On Monday, I win Iowa. I'll win New Hampshire if I win Iowa, because there's a lot of libertarian love in New Hampshire. I go head to head with Trump, beat him, I become president. Everyone will know I became president. Why? This dividend, right? Like the dividend is like Andrew Yang's president, Americans want the dividend. Democrats and progressives will be so thrilled to have beaten Trump. They'll say, let's get people the dividend, make children, families stronger, healthier, mentally healthier, increase graduation rates, all the good stuff. Then Republicans and conservatives will look up and say, wait a minute, how do we feel about the dividend? And they'll look and say, well, the one state that's had a dividend for almost 40 years is Alaska, which is a deep red conservative state. It was passed by a Republican governor. Conservatives don't hate economic buying power in Americans' hands. What do they hate? Giant bureaucracies making everyone's decision. So this money is part of the people, and 20% of Republicans will see that this is a massive win for rural areas, for red states on the interior that have gotten blasted by automation. So that's how we get the dividend passed, is that Americans will have voted on the dividend, will have won on it, and then we can make it happen. So the second part is like, how do we get the value added tax through Congress with Mitch McConnell? When I talk to Republicans about Amazon paying 0 taxes, they're not happy about it. They're not like, yeah, the American way. Even they're like, what? Like, if you're a Republican business owner and you're paying like 30–40% of taxes, you're like, how the heck is Amazon paying 0? You know? So there are Republicans who are for balancing this out too, particularly because right now, you know, a lot of the Republicans really don't like the tech companies. It's a very interesting time we're in. Yeah, so a lot of Republicans would see this as a very, very effective way to try and balance things out.
So if everyone in this room got $1,000 a month, that's $12,000 of income.
A year.
You think the government's going to let your taxes just sit nice and, now your tax bracket, you're up, raise your tax bracket?
Well, the $12,000 itself is not taxable, but it might push up some of your current income into a higher tax bracket, but you'd still end up being ahead almost the entire $12,000.
I mean, whenever you first started talking about it, my ears perked up because I was like, hey, that sounds like a decent deal. But my experience is people are apprehensive and everyone's like, well, how would he pay for it? How would he pay for it? You know, so you would do yourself a favor to explain that deeper on more and more, you know, on a
The
level.
quickest way to say how's he going to pay for it is just tax Amazon.
I don't think that that's a cure-all. You know, and I don't think that people in America at this point are going to go, oh, okay, that's great.
Or you say tax tech companies.
My question is, okay, how about this? If I'm on food stamps,
Yeah.
and do I get $1,000 a month in food stamps? Because my understanding was you were kind of gonna release some of the spending that the government has and give the power more to like how I want to spend my money.
That's right. So if you're on food stamps, you can either keep your food stamps as is, or you can opt in for the freedom dividend and get $1,000 in cash. It's up to you.
So it's either or?
It's either or if it's food stamps or a cash subsidy. This does not affect anything healthcare related, anything housing related. And I talk to people who are on means tested programs, and they get frustrated that literally they feel like their hands are tied because if they make more, then their benefits go down.
Right.
They would much rather get $1,000 that if they decide to get a part-time job, they keep that too.
Right.
I think they prefer it, we prefer it, like it lines up our incentives more effectively. One of the real problems we have with our current programs is they are kind of designed to keep you down, you know? Whereas like flat $1,000 floor, take it, your kids get it too, they turn 18, then everyone's encouraged to actually do what they want.
Right.
Is that $1,000 a one-year thing or for your full term?
That $1,000 is forever.
Till you die, then.
Yep, and you can say at 103 too, because the fact is we have many Americans who are not able to retire in quality circumstances. You have people who are, like heartbreaking stories here in Iowa all the time, people like rationing drugs and doing all this stuff. We have an aging population, Social Security is not adequate for any kind of retirement, your healthcare prices keep climbing. This $1,000 a month would actually enable us to take care of aging Americans in a dignified and modern way, as opposed to having them literally like cutting pills in half and doing all this ridiculous stuff.
So we're back to when people who were poor, I'm just gonna use the word poor.
That's fine.
I'm technically poor. They'd have 12 kids instead of 3, because every one of those kids can get $1,000 a month when they turn 18.
But when they turn 18, is someone really going to have a child and then say, oh, my ship will come in 18 years? That's not a great
Yeah.
plan. I mean, I have 2 kids too, and like they are so much work. Like we're not going to like do that for an 18-year payout. And then when the kid's 18, they're getting $1,000 a month. You think they're going to give it to you? They're 18 years old. They're emancipated. They're an adult. You think like, thank you for raising me. I'm not going to give you the $1,000.
Going to Disneyland.
Yeah, they'll be
We
doing
got a
something.
couple more minutes, guys, and help you happy mingle too.
Would you like to speak about healthcare? Do you have time to?
I'd be happy to talk about healthcare. And I again, heard so many heartbreaking stories here in Iowa and around the country. We need to provide healthcare as a right of citizenship in this country. It's well past due. Again, there are so many problems in this country that have been built up over decades that should have been addressed a long time ago. You know why healthcare is tied to our jobs right now? It's from World War II.
Right.
There were pay caps on what companies could offer, so they bolted health insurance on top of it to attract workers. And now we're stuck in the system that ends up locking us in place. A family doctor here in Iowa told me that because people get sick, they lose their jobs, and then they lose their health care because their health care is tied to their job. And then they file for Medicare or disability, but it takes a while, and they're sick. So they generally die before their new insurance kicks in. And he said, we have to separate employment and healthcare in the worst way possible, because right now, it's not doing what it's supposed to do.
And your thoughts are for healthcare?
Yeah, so it's to provide a universal healthcare plan, right of citizenship. Don't legislate away private insurance. If you have private insurance, you like it, keep it. But if
those that want it.
Yeah, those that want it. And I'm the numbers guy. We're spending so much on our healthcare right now. It is almost like unbelievable. It's just not designed to make us stronger and healthy or provide access. What's it designed for?
Profits.
Profits for who?
Big pharma.
Yeah.
Insurance companies.
Yeah.
Insurance
Medical.
companies.
And device manufacturers. Those like the big three. And I have a friend who's a financial genius who went through the numbers of these companies, and she said she has never seen profiteering and price gouging at these levels of this scale in her life. She's like, I just can't believe what I'm even seeing. That's the way our healthcare system is designed right now. So anyone who's like, oh, we don't have the money for it, does not know what they're talking about, because the money's going through the system, but it's just flowing right to the bottom line, the bottom lines of these huge companies. And that's a pretty reasonable summary of what's going on in the United States of America for the last number of decades. Is that if you have money on one side and people on the other, who's winning in this country right now? The money, right? And this is what we have to change. You are the only people in the country who can change it. I know it does not feel like it, but you're among the most powerful people in our society today, because you can actually flush the pipes of government clean, the corporate money, install someone at the head of government who doesn't owe the companies a dime, who will then come back to your communities and say, look, we should be treating you as well or better than we're treating the Wall Street banks, the drug companies, the tech companies. Now, our government right now will only listen to you if your first name is big and your last name is company. You know, I mean, that's kind of the truth. It's like anything else, it's like, I don't want anything to do with you. You're the only people who can restore our government to us, the American people. I want to be the president that does that on your behalf, and I hope you will give me your support on Monday.
Thank you guys. You gotta take them, but happy to do photos or anything like that. I mean, we'll coffee.
Now the coffees go.
Thank you
so much. Thank you for being here. This is a very pleasant meeting roundtable discussion. Thank you very much. Thank you for your service. Members of Congress, I am 12 years now.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. That's let me take it.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I like the shirt. Very cool.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, come on, let's get a good picture. There we go. Thank you. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
All right.
One, I give you a raise, and two, I get you out from under a lot of those loans. Because you should be
Where's my camera? Look. Oh, why is the frame rate dropping? Oh, there's my camera. Damn, frame rate's dropping.
It's not.
Yeah. But it's not just you.
A lot, but like, bar and that, that's the least you guys can tell.
Okay. Let's see your donations rolling in. We need your donations right now to Andrew Yang through theyangame.com. Or really any website. I don't even care at this point. We just need to raise $1.5 million and we have a little over 10 hours remaining. We have an FEC deadline at midnight. There are no extensions on the deadline. And what we got to look for, guys, is we need to raise, think about it. If we can go to the media tomorrow and be like, yep, Yang just raised more than Buttigieg. Yep, Yang just raised more than Warren. Oh, yep, Yang just raised more than Biden. And then also the money is going to go to help fund last minute ads here in Iowa. And the ads do work, trust me. Thank you, Rebecca, for the $5. I saw an ad played this morning while I was at my hotel. Andrew Yang's ads. Thank you, Rebecca, for the $5 donation. Ivy with the $5 donation. That's actually my mom. Thank you. Kathleen with the 10. She donates every single day. Damien with the 50. Stella with the 5. Michael with the $200. Casey with the $500 donation. Yvette with the $1 donation. James with the $10 donation. Faisal with the $1 donation, Christy with the 5, Randy with the 20, Alexandra $200 20-cent donation, Rochelle with the $5 donation, Veda with the $10 donation, Keith with the $5 donation. Keith is going to get a shout out for being the first person to donate at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and so will Casey. Jeremiah with the 5, Rachel with the 10, Matthew with the 5, Mark with the 5, Malaya with the 50, Matthew with the 10, Marlene with the 10. Wife with the last name, $100 donation, and very much appreciated. Ellen with the 50, Eric with the 25, Kara with the 25, Gerald with the 10, Damien with the 5, Caleb with the 5, Jacob with the 10, Michael with the 20, ER with the 10, Kara with the 100, Jin with the 25, and I think that cashes me up to where I was. Oh, let me see.
Thank y'all. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Could I get a shout out for for Keith and Casey?
Hi, Keith and Casey. Thank you so much. You're so tall. I appreciate the donations. You guys are the best.
I love you, Keith and Casey.
Got 3 days out. I think that's right. Yeah, all right. Got the math right this time. Look at that.
Donate, guys. Thank you, Lindsay, for the $5 donation to Andrew Yang. Thank you, Natalie, for the $10 donation to Andrew Yang. Donate. Look, Andrew's stretching because he is ready for donations. I don't know if that makes sense. Keep donating.
I probably would be.
I wish I could do my hair like yours. Hard to say.
You know, if it doesn't work this time, give it 4 years and I think.
Read the book. I'm not one to overrule my team now. That's the work on that.
What does she want? No.
Donate.
I want 1 hour of 10 food.
Donate. So here's a new competition. Whoever donates the most between the end of this stream and the beginning of the next stream, which I believe is in Grundy Center, Iowa. I have to double check that. Whoever has the highest donation between now and then will get a shout out. All right, time to end this thing.
Get them on board, because they actually, you know, to get the votes.
That's what you guys gotta do.
Oh, man.
You gotta take out your credit card, and the numbers are, what is it? 6011-4994-9036-2215, expiration 0223, security code 268, and just take out your credit card and donate to Andrew Yang through the Yang.
Credit card on the internet?
Don't tell anyone. I don't want to get doxxed. Thank you, Alan, for $1.69 donation, Andrew Yang. Dominic with the $1.20 donation, Andrew Yang. All right. Bye, guys.